a businesswoman herself asked you this.
Who was the businesswoman, and what's her background, and where does she come from, and what party does she belong to, Pat? I'm tired of people being wheeled out with agendas. You put the person here in front of me, let them tell you and me and the nation their background, rather than
what are you actually saying about that person? Because I'm assured that she's an ordinary person, an ordinary business person who just doesn't...
Is she a member of a political party?
I have no idea.
Well, here you go, Pat. You wheel people out on a programme, and they throw allegations at me without them defining who they are, what their political allegiance is. And I find that difficult. The last time I was on your programme, the telephone line was left open.
Sean, can I just tell you, this woman rang in this morning, and I wasn't going to mention this because I don't think it's fair to the woman, and she said, please, I want you to understand I have no political agenda. I'm just an ordinary person. I want to assure you of that. If it should come up in the debate, I'm just an ordinary Joe. I asked a question last night in good faith. This is the question that she asked.
My question is for Sean. Sean, given the trail of misunderstandings and confusions and accounting errors and basic improper business practices that seem to have littered your career so far, and given your own total refusal to ever answer a straight question in relation to any of those details, and amidst increasing voter worry that you may just not have the integrity for this job and that you may actually bring the presidency into disrepute at some point in the future as these things unfold, given all of that, Sean, do you still feel that you should offer yourself up for presidency?
Absolutely. I don't believe that there is anything in any of the negative campaigning and the raising of those issues that shows that in any way I have shown anything but integrity.
So you answered her question, but she was just commenting all the stories in the newspapers about the loan that was misplaced and so on and so forth, the amount of money that was taken out of the company in a particular year, which was an enormous percentage of the... It wasn't in a
particular year, Pat, and you've got to get these facts right.
Tell us exactly.
It was over 2 years, and it was divided between 2 directors.
But it was still a huge proportion of the value of the company at the time, wasn't it?
This is the sensational...
Was it or wasn't it? It wasn't a very significant amount of the value of the company.
That's not the point. The point is that the factory and the company was renting a factory, and rent was being paid. Now the company, the following year, once those were liabilities that the company had to pay, and once that was sorted, the rent was reduced to 10,000. Directors' fees were reduced to bring the company back into line. The wording of that woman, and she may well be, and I'm not casting aspersions on her, but you don't know why she was there in her political background. She's talking about improper voter worry. Is she in somebody else's campaign team trying to take down my campaign to boost somebody else's campaign? Is she a member of a political party?
Okay, she's actually willing to go on air. Do you have her online yet? Okay, we'll get her online, Sean. If you want to challenge her,
I'm not interested in challenging the woman. If the woman is genuine, that's fine. I'm just saying this is the sort of stuff that I'm dealing with. An audience full of people who come from different candidates' backgrounds. I have never said one thing negative about any one of those candidates throughout this entire campaign, nor should I want to, Pat.
At the same time, they've all had a pretty rough time, it has to be
correct.
said.
And you know it's sad. It is sad. It is sad. I know
but why do you see, I've heard the commentators even this morning saying, look, this is actually an election in which the background in politics is not a great help. I mean, if that were so, Gay Mitchell, whose party is at 36% in the polls, would be doing very well.
And
it's not about that, it's about how people...
I learned something last night about Gay Mitchell. Gay Mitchell is a fine and honourable man whose wife came over to me and told me she was sickened by what happened last night. And you know what? I have huge regard for Gay Mitchell, because while he had made some political snide comments about me, he's a man of great integrity, and I have found him nothing but supportive, like Diana and others in this campaign. I think we all should be proud of the fact that we stood forward for this role of president to try and help represent Ireland at a difficult time. I salute all of those.
Okay.
The only person who I think dishonoured that candidacy last night was Martin McGuinness.
Glenna Lynch is actually on the line if you want to pick up a set of headphones. Glenna Lynch, it was suggested by Sean that you have some party affiliations.
I didn't. I asked the question.
Pat, I'm so shocked. I was driving on my way to see someone, a client in work, and I had to stop the car. It's absolutely shocking. I'm a completely normal person. I have 3 children. I'm married. I live, in Stillorgan. I am not involved in any political party. I don't even know one single politician. And I think it is extraordinary that Sean believes
that people, normal voters, don't have a right to ask a question. I emailed the Frontline last week, a really long email, because I was so frustrated at the level of questions that are not being asked in relation to Sean and these activities in the last 10 years or 20 years. And on foot of that email, the Frontline team emailed me back and said, would I ask a question? I said, yes, I had so many questions and I had to choose one myself. And that's the question I asked. I could have asked Sean questions last night for 2 hours. I didn't even come close to just asking him why was he so unwilling to repay the loan of 20,000 odd that he was given by Louth Enterprise Board. It was such a dishonourable thing to do, to be the beneficiary of a loan like that, a start-up loan, and then when business goes well, to transfer the assets out of the company and leave the loan there unrepaid. And then actually the real implication of that, Sean, was that you actually prevented probably another man or woman in County Louth from receiving a similar, hand up in terms of a start-up business. That's the first thing. In terms of, you mentioned last night and you mentioned again this morning about your employment record and your jobs. The reality is that you received extraordinary and probably, very, very unprecedented levels of state funding for a business that was not export-led or manufacturing-led, during the Celtic Tiger period. And in the course of that money flowing into your company, yourself and your partner basically raided the coffers. You took an extraordinary amount of money out. I know nothing about property, Sean, but I do believe that it is probably an amazing thing that, an industrial premises, office premises in an industrial park in County Louth was paying a rent of $195,000 in 2009. I would say there are landlords all around the country with their mouths dropping open, thinking that such a thing could have happened. I actually think you should be running NAMA if you could get a 20% return. And I say 20% because you alluded to the fact at some point that property was worth €1 million. That is an extraordinary rent. You said last night that hopefully now, that you stepped down from the company and you felt it was going to return to profit, and now possibly the 20 jobs might be protected. I put it to you, Sean, that by taking the salaries, the patent income and the rent from that company in the years that it was actually having losses, at the level that you did, you weakened your company. There are employers all around this country who are leaving, who are taking virtually no salary themselves, who are leaving all the reserves in their company.
Thanks very much for that. Now, a number of questions there, Sean. I mean, the business about the 20 grand that you were supposed to return, shifting assets out of one company, putting them into another, leaving the debt to the council in the first company, and having literally to be forced to pay it back. That's how it has been described. Is that a fair description?
No, it is not a fair description.